Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Orange First here on the Denver 7 app and the denverchannel.com. I'm Lionel Bienvenu. Orange First, of course, a show that brings you back to the week that was with the Broncos and looks ahead to the week coming up. And that is the Tennessee Titans. And with me, as always, our Denver 7 Broncos insider, Troy Rank, and the famous ESPN superstar, Woody Page.
Outlier.
Guys?
Outlier.
I know we've called you the outlier before, but I changed it to superstar just because I was sitting in the office the other day and Woody was up on there on ESPN on Pardon the Interruption, and everybody's looking up at him. And and Troy, you were on my little computer screen because we were editing your story. So you were on the computer screen. Woody was up there. And I'm like, what
you're on my TV.
What are you gonna do?
You're on my TV 3 times a night. So let's let it go.
All right.
Okay.
The new motto for this show, as we've talked about, is tune in for the talk, stay for the jacket. Look at the guy.
Hey,
come on.
Best dressed as always.
Always.
Woody Page, everybody. All right, guys. We're talking about the Tennessee Titans here. The Broncos find themselves 8-4 going into Tennessee. And Woody, you wrote a great column on the denverchannel.com about they're not the same old Titans, are they? I mean, Marcus Mariota's having a great season. These guys are 6-6, fighting for a division title. This isn't going to Tennessee and say, we're going to beat the Titans this time. That's not the case.
Well, let's go back to the Jacksonville game for just a moment, though. They cannot play like that. I mean, depending on whether Trevor Siemian, who is still somewhat uncertain for the Tennessee game, but without him, this was a team that was in total disarray. It hadn't been good offensively all year long. We still are in a situation of watching an offensive line that's very mediocre. But the defense, like it did much of last year, had to carry the Broncos again. And that, I think, is going to be the case for another week.
Yeah, Troy, as we pump the brakes with Brakes Plus and look back at that Jacksonville game, Woody brought it up. I mean, the offense here, Trevor Siemian didn't turn the ball over, but that's about the only good thing you can say about his performance. Paxton Lynch, about the only good thing you can say about his performance in Jacksonville.
Well, it's very rarely, Lionel, do you win a football game when you go 1 for 13 on third down, you complete 3 passes in the second half, and you have 11 punts and win.
1 for 13, yeah.
It was crazy. I mean, Riley Dixon was their best player offensively. It was like the playoffs last year when McManus and Colquitt took over. That's what that game felt like, was the Super Bowl, where you make a couple plays offensively and just hold on for dear life. And that would have been a horrific loss. Clearly, Paxton Lynch, they don't trust him yet to run the whole offense. His motto, you could tell, and Paxton is still so young, Woody, he reveals what's being told to him. And it's basically was, don't turn the ball over. We don't care if you do anything else. Don't turn it over. And it worked against Jacksonville, which has a decent defense. Offensively, Blake Bortles, wow. But you can't beat Tennessee playing like this. And the weather could be a factor. It might be rainy, icy, which lends itself to a ground game. Tennessee has the 3rd best rushing attack in the NFL. Broncos don't stop the run, and they would likely, Lionel, have to run to win.
Right.
So, I mean, this game is going to get very difficult. And when you look on the backside of New England, Kansas City and Oakland, the 3 best teams in the AFC, waiting on the backside, it gets difficult.
As I wrote in that column, you were talking about that when you look before the season, you went, boy, that last 3 games, that's going to be a tough add a 4th.
Yeah.
Because not only is Tennessee one of the best running teams in the league, and it goes beyond one guy.
Right, 2 guys.
They have 2 running backs, and Mariota has rushed for over 300 yards, 25 touchdown passes, only 8 interceptions. You told me a couple of days ago an interesting aspect. In his career, he has not thrown an interception in the red zone. So the Broncos' defense, I think, is going to get antsy because they're going to run. Right. It's like Spot in the second reader. You guys aren't old enough to remember that, but it was see Spot run, Spot run.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to see, is just a healthy dose of Mike Mularkey saying, we're just going to keep running against this team. So then you're going to have to bring up Ward.
Right.
He's going to have to play in the box all the time. And Mariota is smart enough and good enough that he'll pick some spots. And I think, again, like we saw with Atlanta earlier in the year, the Mariota's going to they'll have some wheel routes out of the backfield and use those running backs that are very good.
Well, you got me all choked up now. What are you?
Lionel fighting back tears here. That's what it's come to, guys.
Let's do the Xfinity X1 injury report.
Why don't we get right to it? Well, first of all,
Lionel has got laryngitis.
Yeah.
He's questioning.
Think about though.
Winter is coming, right?
Let me take over for you a moment.
Winter is coming.
I thought the one thing that was good about the game, other than the fact that Trevor Siemian couldn't play the game, that for the most part, from a defensive standpoint, they came out of it in great health, I thought.
Right.
And offensively.
Well, Marshall is hurting. Brandon Marshall may not play because of a hamstring. That could hurt them. Corey Nelson's played more and more, so it's not
Todd
like
Davis. I thought they both.
Davis might have been his best game, but yeah, defensively they were fine. They still gave up chunks on the ground again. That's an issue. And DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry are the best 1-2 punch in football.
But offensively, they do have a problem at running back, and they've tried to go out and solve it this week.
They get Justin Forsett early in the week. Now, he's the guy that knows Kubiak's offense. That helps tremendously. Because anytime you bring someone in this late in the game, Lionel and Woody, is the fact that they got to know the offense. And he does. And he had his best year in 2014, but he's bounced around. He got cut by Baltimore. He was with Detroit. Couldn't crack the lineup there. He's only got 44 carries this year. But they need protection behind Devontae Booker with Capri Bibbs. I didn't understand the roster move. They have 8 receivers and 2 long snappers, and you put the one running back on IR.
So he must be hurting somewhat.
Bibbs?
Yeah.
Well, he is, but I would have let it play out before I put him on the IR. I mean, you could have made a move with one of the long snappers.
I kept thinking they were going to get rid of one of the wide receivers.
Well, you got to have 8. It's pretty much, there's not many teams in the NFL that trust going to game day without 8. We kid because we care. 8's an unusual number. I can't find another example. I've seen 7, but to carry 8 receivers. But Cody Latimer played on special teams. He emerged from witness protection to do some work on special teams, and he looked good. But they needed Forsett. In all seriousness, they've got to have help because Booker had 18 carries, Woody. Great. 35 yards, not so great. One run that was memorable, the touchdown with the pushing and pulling
with
tackle.
a lot of help, yeah. He was pushed into the end zone as if he were a mule, and they were going to say, hey, let's get you over the hill or something.
Hey, it worked. It's a touchdown, but they cannot play, Lionel, offensively that way against Tennessee and win. It's just not enough. It's not enough. Now, if it's Lynch, they're going to have to widen the scope a little bit for him, go more shotgun, more spread offense, take a few more chances. Here, I will say this to Lynch, his credit. If he completes the bomb to Demaryius Thomas early in that game, which he was wide open, Woody, and it looked like 3 flies up, like one of those, you got to put a lot of air under it, kid. Well, you don't throw it in a 90-degree trajectory. I mean, if he throws it at all, that's a touchdown. Then he's 13 for 26, 205 yards. 1 touchdown, no picks. You're like, okay.
Yeah,
it was the 3 misses on Sanders twice and Demaryius that struck me.
He threw some things that looked like the Grand Zeppelin from World War II, helium.
Okay, so stop. C-spot run and the Zeppelin.
World War II. All right.
Can you see us in black and white, kids?
Well, let's do keys to the game now because we've kind of talked about it. The running game has to do its part to help out if it's Paxton Lynch or Trevor Siemian. Gary Kubiak said it on Monday. He goes, the run game has to improve. But we've said it for so long. We're in week, we got 4 games left. All this stuff, well, we're going to get better. Even Kubiak's post-game victory locker room speech. We're going to get better, guys. We're going to get better.
We can do this.
Yeah, we can do it. Well, how much better are they going to get at this point in the season?
They did get a little better at the end of last year. But I agree with they went from bad to marginal last year.
No, you've got to remember this period of time last year. They lost in Pittsburgh, gave it up in the second half.
Lost to Oakland.
They lost at home to Oakland, and they were in trouble against San Diego. And if they hadn't made the switch at quarterback, I think they would have lost that. So I would beg to differ with you that they were in great shape at the end of the year. And I'm always alarmed, having done this for 43 years, and you keep pointing that out, but I'm always alarmed when I hear teams, we're going to get better, we're going to get better. After a while, and it was said by a famous Arizona coach, you are what you are. I mean, and they're just not a very good running team because the offensive line is not very good. Their tight ends weren't involved again.
I thought Derby was going to be a factor, too.
So
they got nothing out of Derby. Well, was
keys
that
to the game is
more Paxton or more Derby or
more Paxton, I think.
Yeah, Paxton Lynch, I think they have to open up, if he plays, they have to open up the offense. I don't think he's going to play. I think they're going to go back to Trevor, even as he's at 75%. This game is critical to the Tennessee Titans. It's just as important to the Denver Broncos. If you lose another game, with Oakland and Kansas City basically trying to run away and hide, and one of them this week will be in a better position than the Broncos, and the other one will possibly be in the same situation. You got to go on the road, play at Kansas City. You got New England at home. New England is just tearing through the league, and you got another game with Oakland, and you're not in any good shape with tiebreakers. So they got to come up with something that is so creative. That's my key. Something that's so creative, whichever quarterback is playing, and you got to get the tight end involved. I go back to that Joe Thomas thing. They really needed to make that deal if they were going to be serious about going the distance or going any distance in the playoffs, because Garcia's playing awful. Schofield is up and down. We know that the problems at right tackle. Kung, he's okay.
Yeah, but you can't depend on the defense this week to do what they did in Jacksonville, right? Because the Titans are so much better on offense, both running the ball, obviously,
right.
And then Mariota is so much better than Bortles. So you're not going to say, hey, just don't turn it over this time. Let our defense win the game for us, because that's not the case in Tennessee. The defense may not win the game for you, so...
Well, Kubiak challenged Paxton. If it's Lynch, he challenged him that he's got to be better. He took the kid gloves
up. He said. The opportunities are there.
You got to make some plays.
Well, because here's two other points I'd like to make. They don't have very good set of wide receivers in Tennessee.
Right.
They're adequate. They're not very good. I think you can line up and play one-on-one the whole game, which they already do most
Right,
of.
they do a lot
But that means you can bring the safeties up. You can try and protect yourself defensively with the safeties being closer to the line of scrimmage. Secondly, on the defensive side, Tennessee's not very. Actually, Jacksonville is a better defensive team than Tennessee.
And Tennessee's weak in the secondary.
So you've got to figure out. That's why I keep saying that the only real key to the game is Gary's got to be more creative than he has been. I know he was protective of Paxton Lynch,
right.
But you can't go in there and play afraid. You can't go in there and play conservative. You've got to go in there and be aggressive offensively. And we've seen that all year long, where if you don't start out the game good, then you're fighting because they haven't played a full game. Von Miller talked about that. I'm sure you heard him say, we haven't played a full game, quoting him. And he's right. They have not on both sides of the ball.
Most of the guys in the locker room last week, Troy, were saying, the scary thing is we're winning games, and we haven't put together a whole game yet. We haven't played our best. Well, it's time now. There's no more time to waste here. And I think Von said it. He goes, this is the time. There's no time to sit back and say, okay, we're going to get better. We'll do it in the future. The future is now, and it happens in Tennessee on Sunday. All right, well, let's do Woody's rant here, and then we'll talk, get our predictions right after that.
My rant's about celebrations. We saw two guys that performed snow angels in the end zone. One of them was penalized, and the other one wasn't. Here's my solution. I've been thinking about this over and over again. We hear it's the no-fly zone. Well, then it's the no-fun league, which we've heard for years and years. It's almost like the NFL spends more concentration on the celebrations to take away from all the other issues, the violence and the concussion problems and the substance abuse and the performance-enhancing drugs. Hey, you concentrate on the celebrations. Well, here's the answer. Let teams celebrate for 1 minute. 1 minute.
Give them a 1 minute clock?
Yeah, you start at 40-second clock and say make it 40 seconds. But let a player or a team do snow angels. Snow angels, we were all taught when we were kids. That's fine. If you want to dance, whatever you want to do, network TV goes away to a commercial during that time. Go away. You don't have to concentrate. Just the people in the stadium. And there's another reason to this, is that when that gives a team now, given the rule changes for the conversions, the teams can actually think about it. Rather than rushing into the conversions, we've just seen in the past week what Kansas City did. They were very, very good, weren't they?
Yeah.
I
see what
and
you
so
did there.
as a result of that, I think that it's good for the NFL to say, let's give them a break to think about the two-point conversion, to think about the kick, whatever you might do. Let them celebrate down there, and we'll give them a minute. Network TV goes away, and you have a better game, and it's okay to celebrate. They celebrate in hockey. They celebrate in baseball when a guy does a home run. They're down there. The shaving creams and surrounding it at home plate and everything. They celebrate in every other sport. When you win tennis, you celebrate. You throw your racket up in the air. Why can't guys celebrate in the NFL? There is a solution. Let them do it. without TV being on it, let them do it for 40 to 45 seconds to a minute, put a clock on them, and then come back, and everybody's had time to think about what you do with the extra point, which has become a bigger issue in this game of football.
But kids, remember, no 3 pumps. 2 pumps, don't do 3 pumps.
That's
and
right,
underclock, any version,
Yeah.
that's a penalty.
All right, got it. All right, let's do predictions. Troy, what do you think happens in Tennessee? The Titans on Sunday.
I want to go back to my
favored, right?
Yes, they're favored by 1.5, so essentially it's a toss-em-up game. I want to go back to my 3-0 prediction, but if the Broncos are going to win this game, and again, it's early in the week, so we're qualifying this. We're not exactly certain on the quarterback situation. I believe Simeon's going to play, and if he does, that's Denver winning an ugly, ugly game, 17-13. And that's the only way they're going to win. They're not going to win a game where they have to score. They haven't proven they can consistently score in the mid-20s. Right. So I say 17-13, only because if they don't, I don't know how they make the playoffs on the backside without a win here.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the fact that 2 of you kept saying, Kubiak has challenged them. They are going to play like they never played before. They're going to put it all together. They're not. They can't. They're going to lose this game. They are going to go in there and lose this game. Tennessee is not a bad football team. Tennessee's in a position to be in the playoffs itself. It may actually replace the Broncos in the playoff. I think the Broncos have to win 4 games to win the division. That can't happen. I think they have to win at least 2 of these 4, and I don't see it. I see them. The weather's going to be kind of dicey. I grew up in Tennessee. And Tennessee plays pretty well. They've lost a couple of games at home early, but they come back lately, and they're playing good, solid football. I pick Tennessee to win this game 24-16.
24-16.
What do you got, Lionel?
I'm going 20-17 Titans in this one.
Ooh.
I'm picking Tennessee. I just if you can run the football on a bad day, weather-wise,
yeah.
And the Broncos have trouble stopping the run. The Broncos are now down to Booker and Forsett, and the offensive line is not suddenly going to blow up and get better. Broncos are going to have trouble running the ball. The Titans are going to run the ball on the Broncos, and that's going to be enough to win this thing. They're not going to get 3. They're not going to win the turnover battle 3-0 in this game, I don't think. 20-17 Titans.
Well, that's the key. They've won 29 straight when they win the turnover battle. They're 9-0 the last 2 years when they score a defensive touchdown. It's got to happen defensively to tilt the field. But you're right, and they're thin on the defensive line. So my hunch is that Simeon comes back, gives them this lift, that they win, knowing what's on the backside, that they're staring at the gauntlet on the backside. But if the weather's bad, that's an ominous sign for the Broncos.
Right. All right.
I'm just thinking Chris Christopherson's wondering also where Virgil Green went.
All right, on that note,
and
thanks for joining us here on Orange First.
Another old reference.
Woody Page and Troy Rank. We'll see what happens in Tennessee. We got 2 of us picking the Titans. Troy's going with the Broncos. We'll see what happens, and we'll see you next week right here on the Denver Channel and the Denver 7 app. Have a great week.
Feed him more.
Feed him more.
Yeah.